Hey, welcome to my first record. My name is David Britto. I'm a music journalist based in Bombay. And on my first record, I talk to artists about their debut releases, whether it's an EP or an album. And today I'm joined by Rock Machine's Uday Benegal, better known these days as Indus Creed. They released their debut album, Roll Renegade, in 1988. And it's a pleasure to have you on board today, Uday. And how have you been?
It's a pleasure to be here, David. I've been well. How are you?
I'm well, and I'm very excited to talk to you about Rock and Roll Renegade. It's a record that I've enjoyed listening to like year for years now. And I think I read that you mentioned at the time when you guys were going to record the album, in fact, that it was unheard of for an Indian rock band to go into a studio and record their own songs. So, what made you guys take that leap?
Well, on the one hand, we just wanted to record our songs, but very importantly, we had been approached by a man called Mr. R.V. Pandit. Every gentleman, certainly not the kind of person you would expect to be interested in producing a rock and roll album. R.V. Pandit was a very nice man. He was actually a magazine and book publisher, but he had just bought, or rather, he had just licensed the CBS catalog and started up CBS India at the time. And he was keen on looking for local talent that were doing their own thing. So I guess his research led him to us. And it was also, I think it was the same year that we went to, yes, it was, the same year that we went to the U.S.S.R. So we had a chance to sort of try out our material there as well. So we'd started talking to him in any case before that. And this was part of the Festival of India, the U.S.S.R. in 88, which was like our first big festival experience, international festival experience. But anyway, so R.V. Pandit had approached us and said, I've heard about you guys, and do you have any music of your own? And we said, yes, we do. And he said, do you want to record an album? We said, yes, we would like to. He said, okay, well, here's a budget. It wasn't a very big budget, but it got us by. And we went into the studio. We went into a studio called The Music Room in Bombay. And we started to record, and the album pretty much flying by the seat of our pants.
And let's jump into the album. So throughout the album, there's stadium rock songs, groovy drum parts and bass parts. There are an abundance of guitar solos. But the album opens with The Enemy Within and closes with Oh to Scooby-Doo, which is like an appetizer and a conclusion in itself. So what was the thinking of having these short pieces of music to make it on the album?
I don't know. I don't know if we really overthought anything. We, of course, we were young, and these were early days for us. It was the very, very first time that we were recording an album. So things that we did, we sort of were things that we were emulating of other bands. Not that there was any specific reference point, but it was the kind of thing that bands would do. And especially 70s rock bands, 80s rock bands, and whatnot. You'd have like a little intro piece. More like an intro piece. An outro was probably our own thing. But I don't know, man, it was whimsical. And Mahesh had written this little classical fingerstyle track which we called Ode to Scooby-Doo, which is named after not Scooby-Doo the cartoon character, but Scooby-Doo, our bass player, Mark Selvin's fox terrier. And Scooby was always there in rehearsal when we were rehearsing at Mark's place. Sometimes came on the road with us as an unofficial traveler. He was not really allowed in the train, but we took him on, tucked him under the seat. So Scooby-Doo was special for us, and so the track was made for him. So we just decided to use it. I guess there were bookends of some sort of a kind. Enemy Within, just some kind of dark foreboding introduction, and Scooby-Doo, some kind of sweet little ode to a very sweet little dog.
Well, then the second song on the album is Top of the Rock, of course. And is it true that you guys would announce Top of the Rock as an Aerosmith song at gigs?
Well, if somebody has told you that, then I won't contest it, because I don't know I can't remember that specifically. The reason I won't contest it is because it's something we did with our songs regularly. So when we started to write the new stuff and we started to play the new stuff in concert, excuse me. The fact is, the audience in India at the time was very much a cover song audience. They wanted you to play hits of British and American rock bands, and that was it. And they were quite unforgiving if you did anything, if you detracted from that demand of theirs. So we decided to be a little sneaky, and those were, of course, I mean, well before the internet had arrived, and therefore well before there was any kind of instantaneous news about releases from the West. If anything, you heard about a release a few months later, and you heard it from somebody else because you needed to have access to that kind of information. Now, who would you trust? You'd trust a band, right? You'd trust the band that was on stage that said, hey man, this next song is a new release, and we have a brand new release by so-and-so band, maybe Aerosmith, maybe whoever it was. But we used to employ that just to break down the barrier of us being able to play our own songs. It was a magic trick, I guess, or a prestidigitator's trick, just to get the audience to be open to what they were about to listen to. That was our intent. Be open to what you're about to listen to. After that, if you reject the song, you think it's a crap song, and you think Aerosmith wrote a crap song, fine. We won't play it again as well, probably. Or maybe we would. But as it turned out, the ploy worked because it did break down the barriers, and the song started to get, a great response, great recognition, and over a period of time, started to become something that the audience asked for. I mean, it was not very long before we let them in on the joke, because the fact is, we don't want to dupe the audience forever. So we told them what we had done. By the way, the song that you were asking for and that you liked so much, that's one of our songs. We did this and stuff. And everybody was pretty good-spirited about it, and it became part of our repertoire. And then, of course, part of the album as well. By the time the album came out itself, by then, some of the songs had already been played a few times in certain, maybe places that we played often, Bangalore, Bombay, places like that. But when the album came out, it was a game changer for us, because then it took the songs out to much bigger audience than we could otherwise reach physically.
Right, of course. When did you start noticing, like, Top of the Rock, for example, when did you start noticing that the audience was catching on to it and accepting it and felt like connected to the song?
I know, it's a long time ago and memories are a blur. But it was a few months later. It's not like gigs happened that often also in that time period. In those days, you didn't have too many gigs happening. So we were at the mercy of college festivals and things. But I don't know, man. Within a few months, I think it was gaining traction.
Prison of Passion, I feel, is quite introspective. What was the lyrical approach when it came to this song?
You should probably listen to all these songs again before today's conversation about it. I know they're in me and everything else, but to go back and try to remember what the headspace was, I don't know, man. So, Prisoner of Passion, I can't speak about Prisoner of Passion because that's a song I wrote with Mahesh Tanaikar. When I say wrote as in being working, he came up with the riff and the chord progression. I worked on the melody and the lyrics. I don't know. It was just about. I can't remember. It was so many years ago. I think I was just trying to. Yeah, you're right. It is introspective. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to recall the words now. I really needed a heads up on this, But the truth of the matter is, I've always been. To cut to the crux of it, really, is I've always been an inward-looking person. And by inward-looking person, I just mean ever since I was a teenager, looking at myself and self-reflecting in the usual stuff, place in the world, my purpose, my desires, my determinations, all that kind of stuff, was very much a part of me. So it probably just came from there. And it probably came from the idea that I wanted to break out of what I saw were constrictions within Indian societal structure. There's something about being a rock. Honestly, being in a rock band, especially at that time, is already a statement about breaking out against the societal structure. We weren't making some kind of conscious attempt to be any kind of thing. We just wanted to make this kind of music, honestly. Our desires and our intent was very simple. There was a kind of music that we loved to make. Now we were writing our own songs. We wanted to record those songs, put them out, and play them to people because it was fun to do. It gave us a hell of a lot of joy. Despite all the pain that you encountered, when I say pain, I don't mean the struggle and the inconveniences along the way. But it was something that we loved to do. And I think Prison of Passion probably came from that idea, that we are prisoners of passion and we want to break out of that hole. We want to break those cages down and follow our hearts, follow our guts.
Can't Wait Anymore is the ballad on the album. What do you remember putting this song together with the band?
What do I remember about putting the song together, Uday? You broke up there for a second. Well, this one was written by Mark Selwyn, written and composed by Mark Selwyn. And I think we all worked on the composition part of it, I can't remember. But it was just that kind of ballad, it was a nice, sweet ballad. The lyrical, any questions about the lyrics, you're going to have to talk to Mark Selwyn. So I can't really speak to that. But it was a love song. It was a sweet love song, and Zubin played these nice, the Roland DX21, I think he was what he was using at the time. These very nice time patches and stuff. And it was a sweet kind of song, and it was a ballad, man. It was a rock ballad.
I want to talk about the title track, of course, Roll Renegade, and the music video attached to it. Firstly, was it Selvin or Menezes that you guys tried to convince to drop a copy of the VHS at the Hong Kong MTV office?
Well, didn't have to convince anyone. I sent it across to the MTV office. Because, there's an interesting story behind that actually. MTV was out in India. It was MTV Asia at that time. So they had one signal for, I think, the entire continent before they split up into nation, countrywide beams. But from what I remember, so there was this VJ called Noorani, who was along with Danny McGill and all of these guys. And somebody called us, a friend of ours called us and said that I just heard this VJ Noorani, say that they've been receiving a lot of MTV Asia in part of the Star TV network in Hong Kong. I've been receiving a lot of mails and emails and whatnot. I think email it was in by then. Yeah, 92. And they were just all coming. On those nice 14.4 Mbps, was it kbps? Connections. KBPS, 14.4 kbps. How we have progressed, man. It's crazy. So, at least that part of us has progressed. Well, we are retrogressing in many other ways. But anyway, so how it went was a friend of ours called us and said, I just heard this person say that they've been receiving a lot of requests for us to play videos by this band called Rock Machine from India. But we know nothing about this band. And if there's any of you guys who's watching or anybody who knows them, please send us your videos. Send us any videos you have, whatever you have. And that's when I made the connection with them. And I had a video sent up to them. And Rock and Roll Renegade, the video was made by fabulous filmmaker Mahesh Mathai, but working under Mahesh Mathai made it for a Doordarshan program called Pop Time, which maybe a year earlier, or maybe a couple of years earlier, which is hosted by Louis Banks. So Louis was curating, had gathered together various artists for that show, Pop Time, and he asked us to come and do one of our songs. And Mahesh Mathai, who was one of the biggest ad filmmakers in India at the time, he was the director for it. And we shot it at Runbound. We sort of simulated a live concert. The quality wasn't the best, not for anybody, it was nobody's fault, except that the budgets were really low. I mean, Doordarshan doesn't have big budgets to work with. But it's what we had. So it wasn't ideal, it wasn't perfect broadcast quality, sort of hewing to the standards that MTV necessarily would have otherwise put as a deal breaker before any artists were sending stuff up to them. They accepted that video because they said, we're getting so much noise from India about this band, and I guess they wanted to exploit the Indian market as well. So they kind of allowed for that video, even though it didn't meet ideal broadcast standards for them. But that became the springboard for us then to start getting more videos out because we got a lot more attention, we were able to approach sponsors subsequently and stuff. So that is the story behind the video.
I want to talk about rockin' in the USSR. You touched upon it at the top of the interview about you guys going to the Soviet Union to perform. It's a nice blues rock offering on the album, and paints a picture of your travels to the Soviet Union. How did that gig come about? Was Gary Lawyer also instrumental in you guys going there?
Well, Gary Lawyer was very much a part of it. Gary Lawyer was also invited to be part of the festival, and Gary used to hire us to sort of back him every now and then for concerts, and he wanted us to be his band, his band for that performance of his, and we were going to play our own set as well. So we said, cool. So yes, I mean Gary was very much part of the Festival of India and the USSR. These were kind of like quid pro quo festival things that used to happen at the time by the ICCR, the Indian Council for Cultural Research, something like that. But what happened was the festival was on, and Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister at the time, and he was very keen to show India in not just because I mean these festivals used to happen across the world anyway. But they mainly featured folk musicians and Indian classical musicians and stuff like that, and dancers and things. You didn't see rock bands and pop bands and jazz bands at any of those festivals. Until 1988, when Rajiv Gandhi, who was the sitting Prime Minister, decided that he wanted to show India as a progressive nation, as one that was expanding and incorporating more culture and absorbing, apart from having its own heritage and very, very rich legacy of cultural riches, he said that we are also a dynamic nation, and we are more than that. We are that is our heritage and that's our history, but we're moving forward. It was great because he said, so I want to show the new India as well, the emerging India. So that's when Louis Banks and his jazz band was part of it. There was us, of course, Rock Machine and Gary Lawyer, and there were a whole bunch of others as well. That's how it actually came about. It was super trip.
You guys recorded the album on tape. What was your memories of putting the entire record together?
The memories were, a lot of the memories for me started out with the songwriting process, which would involve Mahesh Tanaika's father, who was the Municipal Commissioner of Bombay at the time. So he lived in the Municipal Commissioner's bungalow at Carmichael Road, and I lived down the road at Napier Road. I was living as a PG, as a paying guest. And I would ride my KV100, my Kawasaki Bajaj 100cc motorcycle from Napier Road, from the beginning of Napier Road, and ride up Pedder Road, go to Carmichael Road, and open the gate, ride my bike up, be greeted again with puzzled looks by the security guys over there, the MC's bungalow, and go to Mahesh and say, okay, show me some stuff that you've written, riffs that you've written and stuff like that. Any guitar riff, progression, whatever it is. And that's what our songwriting process was. Mark Selvan was doing stuff on his own at the time. We were top of the block, can't do it anymore. Mahesh and I used to work like this. And I would take a recording of the riff and progression, get on my bike, ride towards Churchgate, go to the Bombay Gymkhana to have breakfast, and I would put my headphones on, with a book on my lap, just listening, and I would just keep playing stuff in my head and sing to myself and write words, and that was the other part of the process. Then I would take it back to the band. We would rehearse the songs together as a band, of course, in the Municipal Commissioner's bungalow, and found our way eventually into the studio and stuff. Of course, we recorded it with live. I mean, not recorded. We first rehearsed as a live band, getting all our parts together. But when we recorded the album, the drum parts were all drum machine parts, really, because we didn't have the facility to record an album at the time in the studio with live drums and everything. So that's how it happened.
And looking back on your thoughts on the entire album, I mean, the record has been an inspiration to many bands, Pentagram, Parikrama, Zero, and it opened a lot of doors for new artists to do what you guys are still doing. So looking back on the entire process and how it's been received, what are your thoughts now, 32 years on?
Oh man, 32 years on, I don't really think about it. I stopped thinking about it a long time ago. But that said, there's no question about the fact that what the experience was for us then. It was a seminal experience for us. Apart from the seminal label one would want to put on it as far as Indian rock is concerned, for us, it was a phenomenal experience because all the people. Getting into the studio, we had this recording engineer and mixing engineer, the guy who recorded and tracked and mixed the album, Nakul Kante, who's now a big sound guy in the Bollywood world. But Nakul had just come back from audio engineering school in California. Ehsaan Noorani used to come and hang out in the studio with us. We've known Ehsaan for years and years. So Ehsaan and Jayesh were neighbors as in neighboring buildings. And Nakul was in the third building. So, it was like buddies hanging out. Nakul was recording, we were recording. Nakul was recording us rather. Ehsaan would come and hang around. Sometimes he'd give suggestions. He came on the second album as well. And buddies were dropping in. It was a beautiful moment, more than a moment. It was a beautiful period of time for us. It was exciting because we were getting to put this stuff out, but we had absolutely no idea and no expectations really of where it could go. It's going to be on cassette. What's the distribution? How do you do distribution? What stores are going to keep it? And when it got the attention it did, it was not something that we were prepared for. But were we kicked by it? Most certainly. And the attention it got in the Northeast particularly was really something that really, it's still, even now when we go back to the Northeast, which we did very recently, just a few months before lockdown, in December, we were going to play the Hornbill Festival in Dimapur, and we went up to Kohima to spend the day with. It's fun to go to the Northeast because nowadays, whenever we go there, we inevitably meet people who are either politicians, senior politicians, or bureaucrats, or IPS, police people and stuff. And we're talking about senior people who asked to meet us because they were in school or just about in college when we arrived there in '90, I think it was. For the first time we played in Kohima, in Nagaland, and they were kids. Now they're all senior policemen and politicians and bureaucrats, and they all want to meet us. So for us, we go back to Roll Renegade constantly because for them, the memory is Roll Renegade because that was the album that was out at the time. In fact, when we arrived in '90 into Kohima to play a concert there, even though there were, the fact is, no record companies in India, of which there were very few, and any distribution anywhere in the Northeast. But when we got there, every gypsy that passed by that had young people in it, and the gypsies were like the car that all kids drove in those days, open top gypsies, they were all playing Roll Renegade. So they all pirated cassettes. But we didn't care because they were playing our music and they came to the concert and they knew all our songs. So even now, for a long time when we regrouped as Indus Creed, Zubin Mahesh and I have been playing songs for so many years. I don't really want to play all those songs. But we realized that there are times when we have to. When we go to the Northeast, we play more of the earlier stuff, which basically means stuff from Renegade than any of the other stuff. We also play the new material, but we pull out more of the earlier stuff as well because that stuff goes down really well. Karen is huge over there. Renegade is well, Rock and Roll Renegade, Top of the Rock, Karen are the big ones.
Thank you so much for your time, Uday, for speaking to me about the album and the stories behind so many stories, of course. And we can keep talking, of course. But thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure. Hope to see you guys live soon again once the lockdown is done and everything.
I hope so too, man. I hope so too. My pleasure. Good talking to you, David.